A new era is upon us. Tangent PropTech unites founders, real estate and VC investors, urban leaders, and passionate creators who are improving our communities and cities. Join venture capitalists Jeffrey Berman and Zach Aarons and PropTech entrepreneur Edward Cohen, that's me, to learn about housing innovation, the future of work, and climate tech. We examine these themes through interviews and conversations with PropTech CEOs, real estate owners and operators, and venture investors, and how we can leverage tech and collaboration to help solve the housing crisis, figure out the future of work, and how to decarbonize the built environment. If you would like to get your company's or organization's mission featured on Tangent, email us at tangentcommunity@gmail.com. Hi, I'm Edward Cohen. Welcome to Tangent.
And I'm Zach Aarons, filling in for Jeff Berman, who can't be filled in for, but I will do my best.
Today on Tangent, we have Sean Miller, Chief Revenue Officer at Lessen, powering how residential and commercial real estate do property repairs and maintenance, turns, make-readies, and capital projects at scale. Hi, Sean. Where does this podcast find you?
Hi, Ed. Hi, Zach. And I guess hi, Jeff, virtually via Zach. I'm doing well. I'm in rainy Los Angeles today.
Let's jump into it. Sean, you've been at the intersection of real estate and tech and operations for a while. So what made you join Lessen last year?
Lessen is at a really fun intersection. What sort of drove me here was a couple of things, right? First part of my career, I think of different stages where I just did job functions, right? Project management in manufacturing, corporate finance, did a little bit of investment banking with JP Morgan Sponsors Group, right? But saw different parts of an org. And then the last 12 years of my career, I've been able to be in tech, but really be in tech when it's defining new things, right? And creating new categories. So I was with a company called Generac that makes standby generators and launched an internal startup called MobileLink that connected the generators back to us so we can understand how they're running in real time and drive service out to them so they're ready when we could see a storm rolling in. Then moved on to Belkin and ran Wemo in early days globally. That was their smart home business unit. So, early days of IoT, when there was a lot of sizzle and not a lot of steak, but it was fun, right? Because people sort of saw the vision and could understand where things were going. Then was fortunate, joined Alarm.com and ran what was at that point a small other line called PointCentral and grew it into one of the largest providers of smart home IoT solutions into the rental property space. Then left, did my own startup that was sort of a tech thing around augmentation of skilled trades in the field with tech. And not trying to be too long-winded here, but that sort of was what led me to Lessen. Like the Lessen founders, Jay and Justin, were also founders at Colony American Homes, which eventually became Starwood. They were clients of mine 8 years ago when we were rolling out IoT systems. And I think they're sitting in this really fun and interesting spot where maintenance itself is changing. How people do maintenance, who does the maintenance, how people think about maintenance is changing. And some of that has nothing to do with the technology. It's just how the organizations think through how they create value, what labor is available to do what work. And then there's this tech part that comes into it, right? How can technology augment that, whether it's at the field level with what someone's doing, how you ingest the need, how you analyze it and dispatch it. And so just a lot of fun intersections where from my past, found like a good overlap of people I know, pain points I'm at least familiar with, and applications of technology that I think can help solve. So I'm very excited to be a part of the team.
Fascinating. And certainly maintenance has, come front and center across residential and commercial real estate because, historically it's mostly been about how to react, how to solve. But now in this post-ZIRP era, it's more about being proactive and making sure we are not sending twice, 3 times the repair team and empower them with the right information to make sure that we mitigate risk. So at Lessen, you guys have over 30,000 vendors. You service over 1 million properties across 100 metros. So tell us, what are some of the most common or painful repairs you're solving for owners and operators?
Yeah, so building off what you said there, Ed, I think there's a lot of there's just pain points in maintenance today. Maybe that means you don't have enough techs on staff, whether that's in a building or if you're a little bit further down the journey, maybe in a pod covering an area. And so there could be just too much demand for your techs to handle. There could be specialized needs for your techs to handle. So a lot of times today we will start off doing that, right? Someone will tell us a pain point. We'll say, great, let me help augment what your team's already doing with our 30,000 affiliates out in the field. And then there's other partners we work with that come to us and say, listen, we've done a strategic analysis and maintenance is not where we differentiate and create value, right? It's something that if you do it bad, you can lose value, but it's not what our resident or our tenants are looking for. And so partner with us where we bring a certain economies of scale that they likely can't do on their own. And this is even large operators, right? You can think of a large commercial or residential operator who maybe manages 50,000 or 100,000 units. And if they're doing 2 to 3 work orders per unit per year, that's 200 or 300,000 work orders. We did 3.5 million work orders in 2024 and 3 million in 2023. So we just can bring an economy of scale in terms of the efficiency we can do to this, the knowledge and expertise we can bring that helps that partner know we can take care of their need and they can focus on where they create value in a differentiated way.
Zach, how are commercial real estate and residential real estate players in your landscape thinking about maintenance and thinking about whether to do something in-house, or to outsource it, and what really adds value to their properties and to their experiences that they want to provide within them?
Yeah, I think it's really hard for most property managers or landlords to completely in-house all of their facilities of work and all of their maintenance. I think one has to be at such a tremendous scale to make that work. So I think most people are looking to outsource, but manage tightly the relationships they have, and they can't manage multiple vendors in the way that Lessen can. I think everybody talks about the skilled labor shortage, which is plaguing the US right now. There's also a semi-skilled labor shortage. So people in unskilled trades doing basic maintenance, people who need to schedule those workers, there is a shortage of labor for those professions. So we see across the board, both for commercial and residential real estate, owners and property managers are moving towards technology in terms of managing these vendors. They're moving towards outsourcing. And in some cases, the robots are coming. We are potentially entering an era where basic tasks, even skilled tasks with respect to trades, can be accomplished with robotic solutions, automated solutions. And so software technology can help match vendors with jobs better. And technologies like robots can augment human labor in ways that were not possible even 10 years ago.
Fascinating. Doesn't sound too different than where Uber and self-driving cars may end up sooner or later. Sean, is that something part of the roadmap that you guys are thinking in just how to provide more value, more efficiently and better, to add more automated or robots to your partner network?
Yeah, I'll build off. I like the Uber analogy, and I think Zach's completely right. Like people are looking at tech, trying to understand where does it help. Some people it's software, some people it could be a physical robot, right? It may be a software robot that does something in the cloud for them, but they're all looking for how technology can help it. Where we sort of try and position ourselves as more of a trusted advisor that has both the skilled trade and the technology and can sort of fine tune what is needed for that particular client at that stage in their journey. And so tie that back to Uber, right? Like we see ourselves sitting in the middle of these things and we are trying to simplify maintenance for everybody. Like we sort of stepped back and said, we think maintenance is hard for all the constituents involved. Like it's not, the residents and tenants don't like it, right? You never like when something's broken, like you can't run your business right, or your apartment's too hot. Landlords and operators don't like it, right? They got to figure out, call around, who's available, what's the price. Vendors trying to do the work or trying to figure out where they're getting their next job from, what are they going to do it for? And there's friction in all this. And so if we can sit in the middle, and just like how Uber's made it very easy to get the type of car you need, when you need it, at what's a fair and transparent price, we want to do that in the maintenance industry.
Support for this episode comes from MarketStadium. How should you choose the next real estate market to invest in? Should you keep investing in the same metro area? Will Las Vegas, Buffalo, and Charlotte live up to the hype? These are some of the fundamental questions multifamily and single-family investors are thinking about. That's where MarketStadium comes in. MarketStadium is your one-stop real estate data platform that optimizes every process of multifamily and single-family market analysis. MarketStadium helps accelerate 4 essential steps in the real estate investment process, including macro market selection, initial market screening, deep dive location analysis, and investment presentation. Their platform also helps real estate investors understand how markets have performed until now and how markets will grow in the future. MarketStadium also provides climate scores for every market to analyze climate risk from floods, earthquakes, wildfires, and more, so you can de-risk your investments. To learn more and supercharge your multifamily or single-family investment market analysis, book a demo at marketstadium.com. That's marketstadium.com. So talk about, from your seat, the CRO, what are some of the revenue levers for Lessen right now?
So for us, our historical levers were those services, right? Where do you need help? Can we send someone out to take care of a skilled trade need for you? And more, we're evolving that to, and we've built a bunch of technology in-house. So we've invested over the past something years, over $200 million in building this robust tech stack that does everything from ingest work orders to analyze them, dispatch them, what the techs use when they're in their field to do the work, and then QC robots and tools all the way back up and then reporting out to the system of record. And that used to sort of be the Wizard of Oz, right? That was the magician behind the curtain. You just saw our services. What we're seeing more and more is people are coming to us again. They're at different stages of the journey. They have different ideas of what they want to get to. And so it's how can we meet them where they're at with both the service and the technology? Can we pull parts of our tech stack out and augment what they're already using to, again, sort of help get started today and help alleviate them without having to cause too much disruption?
If I got this correctly, you have served over 280,000 properties and completed more than 3 million work orders annually. How do you manage expectations while dealing with so many stakeholders across the value chain?
So we have a really large, great team. We've got over 900 employees that work to help find those affiliates, manage expectations with clients, match work to needs, and then a bunch of tech behind it that's also augmenting that and automating that, improving on that. But at the end of the day, this is an industry where technology is helping but is not replacing, right? Augmentation, I think, is the right word to use for this. But then we just try and really stay focused also on, we understand that maintenance is hard and it's, again, critical to do when it's needed. And so we try and make sure we do a really good job doing so. And we're very proud of, if you look at the millions of work orders we do every year, if you look at our service rating, so after we do a job, we send someone a survey, 1 through 5, rate me. We average every month 4.8 to 4.9 stars. So we're very proud of that. Again, knowing that maintenance is something that usually someone's already upset about when you're coming in to do work because something's broken. And B, a lot of times people don't review you unless you do something really good or really bad. So the fact that we're getting enough people to get in and review us and get that type of feedback from end clients, which feedbacks through our direct customers, is very rewarding and something we're very proud of.
Yeah, this is definitely not an issue, only ratings for Lessen, but across the world, like, it's a polarized world. No one ever gives a 2 or 3 or a 4. It's either a 0 or 1 or a 5, right? Like, too black and white, as they would say. I'm not sure how to solve it or if there's even something to solve, but that's how we are sometimes. Property maintenance, you must have, high variability in terms of seasonality as well, and that volatility, whether it be HVAC in the summer, frozen pipes in the winter, hurricanes in Florida. How do you smooth out, revenue and predict demand spikes?
So my CFO is probably really going to pay attention to this part of the podcast. There is seasonality to it, right? There's seasonality in both what is going on at the building. So whether it's weather, whether it's, take an apartment where you have a lot of move out in the summer and move in towards the end of summer. Same thing with a single family rental, commercial space, you just have tenant turnover throughout the year. So the reality is there's variability. We try and balance out that business. If there's a seasonality component to it, right? Are we doing HVAC work summer and then also HVAC work in the winter, right? Can we fix both those needs? When we do exteriors work, we'll push snow in the winter and we'll also trim grass in the spring and summer. And so by doing that, it does give us some balance. With customers, those are a lot of times different pieces of work we have to win and build their confidence in. So we don't necessarily start that, but we do try and service sort of the collective need. At the end of the day, that only helps balance us out, but helps us better meet our customers' needs, right? Like, they don't want someone just to do HVAC in the summer. Like, yeah, they get swarmed, but if they don't have HVAC techs in the summer, they likely don't have HVAC techs in the winter either. And so being there to help support those needs helps balance things out for both our need from a business and the client's need for what they need to do to serve customers.
Going back to Zach's point earlier about labor shortages, I mean, skilled labor is harder to find. How does this impact operational efficiency and how is Lessen addressing it?
I think the labor shortage was a looming problem before COVID, but then when COVID hit, it sort of accelerated everything, right? And just pulled the sheet off that not only would you have not enough people really in market, suddenly a bunch of them retired and not enough are coming back in. One of the things we'll pitch as a value proposition to affiliates that work with us is, hey, we're going to be here. Again, we're doing how many millions, 3.5 million work orders last year. We have work to give you. If you can get in, do a good job, we do time studies. We make sure we pay fair rates for the work being done. So someone who really likes their trade, maybe coming out of trade school or earlier in their business and says, I don't have a book of business today. I really want to get out and just do work. We think we're a great partner that can bring reliable work. That's something that, again, is tech enabled. So some of the younger people really like the technology we have because they want to get out there and feel like they're using some of these tech tools to do work. We can help provide be a good partner to them because we provide consistent work that they're able to do. Someone who's more established, who's had an HVAC repair business for 20 or 30 years, may work with us on occasion. We have some people that work with us for 10 to 20% of their business. And then we have great case studies of people who have come with us and we're 90, 100% of their business. In fact, I was in Tampa at one of our affiliate events last year and met a guy who started with us. He was one man in a truck running around doing plumbing work. And now he's a company of 14 trucks running around. And we're still 90% of his business, right? So he's been able to sit there and build a business and do the work he loves to do. And it's worked for everyone involved.
Zach, how do you hear the conversation and the dilemma about, the replace versus repair? Are there specific data-driven insights that property owners and managers, use to make better long-term financial decisions, whether to replace or repair something in their properties?
Yeah, this is something that's top of mind right now, especially for insurance executives. I just had an insurance executive in my office yesterday talking about this very issue. Previously, because we lacked geospatial data, when there was an event like, say, a hailstorm that was significant, that might have mildly damaged some of the shingles on somebody's roof, an enterprising entrepreneurial roofing contractor might have started door knocking and saying, hey, let me replace your roof. I'll submit an insurance claim. I'll get reimbursed and everybody will win other than the insurance company. You'll get a new roof. I'm going to get a bunch of new business. And that game has been happening for years. And it's exacerbating loss ratios for insurance companies that are already stretched. We're seeing these 1 in 100-year events, whether it be wildfire, flood, happening now every single year instead of once every 100 years. So these companies want to reduce their loss ratios and continue to service communities that they feel like they can't service anymore. So how are they doing that? We have a lot of new tools for gathering and analyzing geospatial data and then disseminating that data that can show an example. Well, you just had a hailstorm. Your roof doesn't really need to be replaced. You just need to replace 1 or 2 shingles. You don't need an entirely new roof replacement. Or this hailstorm was catastrophic. You immediately need a roof replacement. We're finally in an era, because of brand new technology, triangulating satellite data, drone data. We have this new data coming from these huge aerial balloons. We have light reflecting data that can distinguish based on the photon that it shoots back up what the damage is, right? We just have so much more fidelity and quality with data about property than we did even a few years ago, that we're going to be able to not only identify exactly what is needed to be repaired, but we're going to be able to answer with a lot more clarity, is this a replacement or just a repair situation? And I think that's going to benefit insurance companies, homeowners, and companies like Lessen as well, because they're going to be able to get to fix more faster when needed and we're not going to have people taking advantage of the system in the same way they have before.
A couple of points there with regards to insurance. This is geospatial, and analyzing images with computer vision, machine learning is exactly what my former employer, Cape Analytics, has been doing. Who actually just got acquired by Moody's a couple of weeks ago. Shout out there. Taking images of even the exterior of a home and being able to assess whether the roof condition is severe or excellent, and how does that compare to the roofs in the area, like Zach just said, and being able to determine whether, okay, not only how much is this home worth, but also how much insurance does this home need in order to be, insured accurately, not under or over insured. So it's pretty crazy what we can do now with imagery taken from airplanes. Yes, drones and balloons sound great, but actually the quality of images that airplanes can take nowadays is like 30 times higher in quality or image resolution than what we see on like Google Maps, for example. So it's crazy how we can now get these images to the asset level, not only, buildings, but more specifically single family homes, and being able to determine, what needs to be replaced or repaired. And then with regards to insurance, I'm seeing that right now with ProSentry, where we're helping buildings mitigate damage from water leaks inside the buildings. And it's something that insurance companies such as Chubb now are providing even up to 8% discount in insurance policies for homeowners when they install a point of leak, water leak detection in their kitchens, in their bathrooms, in their AC units, that are able to empower companies like Lessen and the operators themselves to really address the leak at the earliest sign before it becomes a big problem.
Yeah, these IoT case studies now with insurance, all the scars on my back from early days of IoT where we pitched that story, but no one was doing it yet. It's great to see some of those actually coming through, with water being one of the, I think, most impactful case studies for that. I think there's another angle on that, better educating the repair versus place outside of insurance. Just think of the normal asset manager in an apartment building or office building. One of the things we've started doing for them is now when we put in a new HVAC unit, we tag it, so we capture all the information about model, manufacturer date, et cetera. And then over time, record all the different work orders we do against it. And so we know what is useful life of that unit. And when that unit starts to get to a point, we can flash to the team, hey, listen, this is a 6-year-old unit with a 7-year rated useful life. We've already done this work against it. This next work order is estimated cost Y. Our recommendation is to replace. Now, they can still say, nope, I just want to repair it right. I don't have that CapEx budget right now. But like, how do we help better inform those decisions in the moment, and also help better capital planning for each year, right? If I've got 1,000 HVAC units that are hitting useful life next year, and maintaining HVAC, whether it's temp or humidity, is critical to my business, what to budget for versus just throwing out a budget and hoping it works.
Yep. And to the budget point, if when insurance offers discounts or incentives to owners and operators, that's when I feel adoption can really scale. Now, defensive versus offensive property maintenance. How do you convince owners and operators to stop thinking of maintenance as a cost center and start treating it as an investment?
This is, to me, that reactive versus proactive. And there's a couple of different ways to think through this. I think this is similar to like every other startup is like, I love selling pain medicine, not necessarily vitamins, because vitamins are difficult to convince people that they're good for your health. There is some part of that. Like, some people I think are always going to believe in, hey, I want to do preventive maintenance. I want to do it on this schedule because I know it works well for my building. My gut tells me this is what keeps my building operating at a certain level. And again, maybe it's part of their brand. Maybe it's the risk this going down is more valuable to my business than what a preventive maintenance plan costs me. And so therefore, it's easy for me to make that decision. There's also another group of people who are just going to be more financially motivated, right? Like, I have to spend X per year and I want to spend under X. That's how I show I did a good job. And so in that case, reactive work's going to be probably a lot of what they do, unless there's clear data on how preventative work helps reduce the total cost of ownership. I do think, tie this back to our IoT conversation, I do think some of whether it be IoT sensors, better data from drones, better data from databases and analysis, at the end of the day, there is this emerging way where you can start to understand shifting work from reactive to proactive and being able to pull in historical costs to someone and say, listen, every time I have to do a work order for you to fix an HVAC unit, it costs $500, right? But over here, I've done preventive work, and I can tell you I only have to do a work order once, one out of every 5 times you do, and it costs Y. What's the cost benefit analysis there? And I do think it will help people get there. I don't think you'll move the entire market to one or the other. There'll always be these different preferences. But I do think people are more seeing some of the data emerge that helps encourage them to move from a reactive to a proactive model.
Zach, I want your philosophical take. Is there something inherently human about if it doesn't happen to me, if it doesn't happen to my property, if it happened to my neighbor, bad luck, but it hasn't happened to me, then I won't do anything. And then when it happens to me, it's already too late to do something. Do we have to learn history again ourselves every time in the same lessons? Or can data or better storytelling or better application help us be more proactive?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a shift yet toward proactive, preventative maintenance in the real estate industry writ large. I think it's visible in some small areas. Changing filtration in HVAC is sort of one category. I think people still don't really believe the data, or they think things will break anyway, even if they do the preventative maintenance. I think people just will believe things are going to break down regardless of whether they're doing preventative maintenance or not. And I don't think we have enough years and a critical mass of IoT-based data to necessarily suggest otherwise. And people's R&M budgets are always tight. And so I don't believe we're going to see, unless it's forced by the insurance industry, which is really the only instance where I've seen distribution successful in a preventative, proactive maintenance or IoT context. I really don't think the real estate industry is going to change in that way anytime soon.
This episode is brought to you in collaboration with Blueprint, the future of real estate. A few weeks ago, in September, Jeff and I participated in the largest, most global gathering of industry leaders and innovators leading the charge in changing the built environment, from construction to transaction, for 3 days of networking, learning, and ecosystem advancement in Las Vegas. With trillions of dollars of assets and the best global innovators under one roof, the future of the built world happens at Blueprint. Blueprint 2025 will take place at the Venetian Las Vegas from September 16th to 18th. Learn more and join the interest list at blueprintvegas.com. That's blueprintvegas.com. See y'all there. Sean, you recently announced a partnership with Property Meld, integrating Lessen's vendor network into Property Meld to create value for property managers and service providers. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I think this is a good example, Ed, of sort of looking at the market and understanding how can we meet customers and clients where they're at. Ray Hespin and the team at Property Meld have built a really good piece of software that serves a section of the residential real estate market, and they're helping people manage, right? Technology that's managing their work orders and understanding some of that work, but not actually doing the work. And again, doing that work is a critical part to that, but it's not an easy thing to fix. And so I reached out to Ray and said, hey, would love to find a way where we partner with you, integrate part of our stack into yours so we can ingest the work, analyze it, still help us do a really good job, but really help your clients solve when they have that need of, I can't find an HVAC vendor right now because it's summertime or they're on vacation or my own tech's sick or recently left or whatever it is. How do I help make sure I take care of that need now versus let something linger because you can't find the trade you need?
Fascinating. More partnerships like that, please. Going back to our earlier points on automation and robots, AI-powered work order management. I mean, how is AI helping reduce inefficiencies and improving vendor performance for you guys? And, what's the next frontier for automation in this space?
Yeah, so for us right now, where we deploy a lot of AI is on the front end, right? Understanding work order requests and generating work order avoidance. So, if we see work orders come in and we can sort of self-guide someone to fix it themselves. In a residential application, that may be as simple as, here's what a breaker box looks like, go flip that breaker, or here's what the reset button looks like in your garbage disposal. Can you press that really quick? Anything we can do to avoid it helps the client save costs. And again, the resident gets their problem taken care of faster. So there's a win-win there for it. There's other layers we're doing of, if it is a valid request we need to send a truck to, between the processes and the historical experience we have, understanding some of these needs, and then using AI bots to more efficiently schedule and route some of that work, as well as understand the work that was done, make sure that matches the invoice. Today, about 80% of the work orders we see, a human never has to touch. We can get it all the way through the stack until the person goes out and fixes it, and then all the way back up without a human being having to be involved. So we think that efficiency continues to gain as there's new AI tools introduced that we can build, and then just other probably services or features we can offer that AI will help enable in the field. Like, I love the idea of AI augmenting someone on site if they're looking at something and need someone else's help to do it, right? How do we help enable that in the moment, not just help solve the problem more efficiently, but capture what they saw, bring it back in, make it part of that asset tag so we understand all the unique work done to assets in the field.
Do you think AI will ever replace skilled labor, or will it always be augmentation?
I'm a big sci-fi fan, so maybe there's one day in the future where there's a robot who's skilled enough to go on a rooftop and fix an HVAC unit. I think the reality in my lifetime, I probably won't see that. I think technology, again, augments the skilled trade, so the trade can get out, do the work they want to do that they're trained on doing, help them maybe do a little more efficiently, get answers to questions faster, take care of some of the back office stuff they don't like to do. But I do think this is more of a symphony of the human and the technology versus a replacement.
I mean, there's specific jobs where, think about window cleaning for skyscrapers. There's a company called Robotics, met a couple of years ago, that they were cleaning windows of skyscrapers with a little robot. I'm sure there's a lot of skilled labor, adrenaline-filled enthusiasts that would love to do that, but at the same time, it's subjectively a very risky job that probably a robot could do better and safer. So there's always specific jobs that maybe robots will get there before, and it won't be augmentation, but it will be replacement. And, we'll have to upskill the people that were doing that.
Your guys' example earlier, right, of drones and balloons and cameras on planes and some of those things, like the tech is not necessarily replacing the human. The human there was someone got on a ladder and looked at it. And by that point, you've already rolled a truck and probably someone has an incentive to get work done. But as tech has come out and been able to do things, now you have better data to make better decisions from. So I do think there'll be things like that. And I think there's those risky environments where the tech can help. I just, at the end of the day, think of all the different sizes and shapes of buildings, like having a robot that can cover all those different crevices and needs, to me feels like one of those things. Eventually we probably get there, but eventually we're probably at that point, living on Mars and have a lot of robots going out complementing things humans are doing.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it will be fun to attach Zach under a plane with a camera so he can take the pictures himself, because he has a great eye. But we like Zach down here on Earth. Collaboration superpower. If you could choose one person, historic or living, to do a partnership with, who would it be?
I got two that come to mind. Okay, one would be, this is building off, a daughter of mine was in a play recently and she played Thomas Jefferson, and it reminded me of how this guy's did so many different things, right? He was an inventor, a farmer, worked in politics, right? A lot of foresight of trying to create this, if I call the company a product, right? But like a product that filled a bunch of different needs, not understand what that need was. I think someone with that level of intelligence that understood a bunch of different things and can not only solve problems for today, but solve problems in the future that they couldn't even comprehend. Someone with that capacity would be really fun to work with. The other person that would immediately jump to mind, a big basketball fan. I grew up a Michael Jordan fan. Michael Jordan was my influences to go to North Carolina. But if I think of Michael Jordan as a business person, right, the ability for him to is his brand and his work ethic, and to drive greatness from teams that when you looked at the individual pieces, you may not have labeled as great, and Mike's work ethic to do so and motivating ways to do so. I think that would also be fun to work with someone like that, who again sort of brings that level of passion and talent into a shared goal.
Well, before we get Zach's response, I have great news for you, Sean, because next week is the last week of the exhibition at the Poster House Museum here in New York City called Just Frame It, which I actually went last week. And it's actually how Nike, through posters, made Michael Jordan and athletes into superheroes back in the 70s and 80s. And it's fascinating, not just because you would love to collaborate with Michael Jordan, but because, in terms of storytelling and how visual, the whole thing about them was like very little copy, very little words, striking visuals, striking images. And, it was truly inspiring because now we take for granted that all of our athletes are superheroes, but it wasn't always like that. So make sure, and if you're here on Friday night, next one, it's free to go to the Poster House Museum. So shout out to Just Frame It.
Nice. Well, I'm in New York next week, so I look forward to hopefully trying to swing by there.
Zach, collaboration superpower. Are we going back to the Italian Renaissance today?
No, I'm going deeper. I'm going farther back. I'm going to go with King Croesus of Lydia today. So he ruled over the kingdom of Lydia from about 585 BC until he finally was defeated by King Cyrus the Great, who was Remen's collaboration superpower, King Cyrus the Great of Persia. Lydia, in what's now modern-day Turkey. What is interesting about Croesus, not only was he extraordinarily wealthy, so I think he'd be a great potential investor for Metaprop, but he invented gold coinage. So before we had Croesus, everybody would trade using the barter system. And it was very challenging. If you went into the town bazaar, you had to keep in your head what the ratio of, chickens to beads was and all these different things. And the invention of coinage was actually one of the most revolutionary things to happen in financial human history. So somebody with that kind of foresight, who was super wealthy himself, but really wanted to innovate and make life better for his subjects in Lydia and beyond, that's definitely somebody I wish I could collaborate with.
Fascinating. These gold coins that you mentioned were found in now modern Turkey more than 2,500 years ago. Wow. Super cool. Sean, where can property owners and managers and Tangent listeners learn more about Lessen and connect with you?
They can go to our website, lessen.com. We also do attend a bunch of industry events. So whether they're associations or trade shows, you can usually find myself and or a Lessen team member at them. I'm relatively easy to spot. I'm 6'6", so you usually see my head standing above most people. So by all means, if you hear my voice and look and see a tall person standing over, it's probably me. Feel free to walk over and say hi.
Sean Miller, Chief Revenue Officer at Lessen, powering how residential and commercial real estate do property repairs and maintenance, capital projects, turns, make-readies at scale. Thank you so much for coming to Tangent today and sharing your company and your wisdom with us.
Thank you both for your time and for the opportunity.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review Tangent, and share the show with a friend. This episode is produced by me, Edward Cohen. Thanks for listening to Tangent PropTech, and remember, collaboration is our superpower. So stay curious and always be learning.